Hey, I'm on the internet.
We made it. You look fantastic, man. How are you doing?
I lost you, Jason.
No, you didn't. I'm right here. You lost me?
I can't hear you now.
You should be able to hear
fuck.
me. What did
Still
you?
nothing.
Are we having technical
Audio
difficulties? Hang on. See if you can hear some music.
Can you hear me?
I can hear me.
What the hell? It was immediate.
Huh?
Oh, good.
Uh-oh.
Maybe I just shut this. Can you hear me now?
No.
I hear you now. Okay. Apparently I can't watch this thing, but now I have my echo back. Okay, we'll keep going.
How the hell do you have your echo back now, man?
Yeah, we're too good.
I don't know. I took it away. So you can hear me now, right?
Yes, I can.
I think the internet can as well, which is cool.
I just can't watch the stream, which is fine because I'll get self-conscious and I'll preen myself on camera.
And also, it's like a couple seconds delayed, so you'd be just captivated by what you just said a minute ago. It's like you're traveling back in time.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Me 3 seconds ago was amazing.
I know.
Incredibly acerbic.
Okay, so here we are on MythBrigade. Kult Divinity Lost. We are preparing for a campaign that I am calling Below These Streets. And so with me is the amazing, talented artist, developer, and all-around guru, Steve Nedley. How the hell are you doing, man?
I'm doing awesome, man. I'm really excited to be doing this. I'm nervous, like we talked about prior to this. I appreciate the pep talk.
It was such a meaningful moment we had, right? It was just,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It touched me deeply, and
I think I said something like, "Fuck it, it'll be fine." We're just. So you've never played a role-playing game before, right? Like you've been around it a lot, but you've never played bore.
Yeah. I love the culture behind it. I love the experience of it, from what I can see. But I've never really participated. I had a modest attempt in the end of high school, but it was pretty terrible. So
yeah.
Sorry if anyone's listening that played that with me and really enjoyed it, but I didn't. So
they're scarred too. I think they're probably in a home now, right?
Yeah, it's fine. They'll make it through. They're probably playing Kult as well, based on how much scarring and terrible mental damage seems to be associated.
That's awesome. So let's talk about Kult for a second. So we are playing the 4th edition of Kult, which is subtitled Divinity Lost. And it is actually a Swedish role-playing game. It's a horror role-playing game, and the system underlying it was actually kind of adopted from Apocalypse World, and it is phenomenal. It's really about the story. It's about the sort of character journey with this facade of a reality that normal people are living in. And when last we got together, if you remember, we made some decisions about the kind of campaign we were going to run. So we agreed it would take place in the 1980s, which what an amazing time that was. Neon, there's going to be like some preps with some like popped collars, and I don't know, Revenge of the Nerds will be popular, I think, on
sweatbands.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so it's set in the 1980s, and in quite a turn, you guys decided that you would be a bit of a mixture between sort of destitute, kind of homeless sorts for one reason or another. There's going to be a paranormal investigator involved, and also a member of the clergy. And so one homeless slot has been claimed. And based on what you were texting me, I think maybe some of your habits and your character background's probably going to put you in that other slot.
Yes.
Okay. So this episode is really about making characters, and we're doing one per player. And the big reason there is we wanted to just kind of go head to head and develop a little bit of story around these characters. The only part of the process that we're going to keep secret until later in the game is the dark secret. That's secret twice, sorry. And the idea in Kult really is those elements are what really drive the character in one way or another. They can hinder the character, but they really develop the backstory. So I want to let those come out. That's actually Mike's idea, to kind of let those flow out with the story. So
I like that.
Yeah, exactly. So we can go with sort of starting out with the archetype.
I suspect we are
which is
followed.
Sort of like, I guess you'd say, a character class in Dungeons and Dragons, a profession or what have you. So you have concepts like the Avenger, you have the Academic. I'm thinking based on what you texted me, it's probably not the Academic. Have you had an opportunity to take a look through that stuff and kind of get an eye on what you want to be?
I did actually. I looked through several of them. I'm kind of leaning towards broken, just because of how screwed up the mechanic seems to be, noting what it locks me into.
Okay.
Like I kind of like that idea, but you can please feel free to coach me through it, because I really didn't give too much of a chance for the other archetypes.
Yeah, no, I think that actually does make sense. So the occupations inside of the archetype here are homeless, escaped mental patient, a street peddler, a street performer, a fence, a thief, police. Now, so you get the idea, but here you can kind of play around with that. But the general idea, right, is that you're going to be, I'm supposing, homeless for whatever reason.
Right.
What's going on with this guy or girl? What's the situation?
Well, so that's tricky, because I haven't thought too far on it. What I was thinking was that there was some sort of a trauma associated with a cult experience, right? Some sort of a, got that echo. I think that there's been some sort of a trauma in the past associated with society in general, trusting them, that sort of thing. So I chose a life off in the alley, away from the mainstream.
Wow, okay. So it's not circumstance. You're not destitute because of some event and hoping that you'll one day rejoin society. You shun society. You're down there on purpose. What
I'm thinking is that I have some sort of a, maybe this will come out later and you can help me polish this, but I like the idea of having some sort of a paranormal ability that I can't differentiate from a legit mental issue. Almost like a schizophrenia, but some voices are true.
There are tons of opportunities for that sort of stuff. So just to give you kind of a feel for the first, say 10 seconds, if you will, of where we're going to start. You're going to be in a city, right? Because I think that's what we agreed when we got together last. And you're going to begin under this massive overpass. Trains kind of passing by, and this sort of, a roar of traffic, and the rumbling of trucks overhead. And the situation is just going to be bleak and awful. And so this character, so just to make it easier on me, is this a he or a she? Have you decided?
He.
Okay, so it's a he. This makes it much easier. So he's going to be there, and I can imagine that you're very observant and involved because you've chosen this place for some reason. But we'll get to what kind of paranormal ability you may have. But I think we'll see if there's anything beyond that. But I think kind of going with sort of homeless as your occupation, which makes it generally easy on the W-2. It's a very very easy process. So the next step in character creation, by the way, we've actually we're using the character sheet in Roll20, which is actually pretty cool, to capture all of this stuff, just so you can kind of follow along with character generation, that sort of stuff. So what do we decide? We decided your archetype was broken, and this keyboard is like the size of an 80s calculator too. And I've got these giant hands. I don't know how the hell I'm going to type on this.
I hear sausages dancing. That's nice.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I saw that movie. Okay, so the next step really is thinking about this person. you select basically one advantage of your own, and you automatically receive the disadvantage broken. And we'll talk about what that means in a second. What's your other disadvantage? So some suggestions would be maybe drug addict, involuntary medium, which is basically mental compulsion, schizophrenia, stalker. What are you thinking?
All right, help me out here, because I read up on both schizophrenia and involuntary medium.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the idea of having some sort of a hybrid there. I don't know if that's even possible. With the involuntary medium thing, my understanding is that when I'm around something that is supernatural or something, or in some sort of a situation where I'd be presented with this as an opportunity, I have to roll to determine if I'm possessed or some sort of control thing, or you get certain elements where you get to decide what happens.
Yes. So, the idea is that you're sort of an open vessel, the book says, for any spirits or demonic entities who desire a medium to speak through or need a corporeal body to use for their purposes. Whenever you encounter spiritual entities, so if you're around something like that, there's a role that you could make. And generally, depending in the way the roles work in Kult, is basically depending on, it's almost like a level of success or a level of failure. So for example, in this case, if you rolled less than 9, the entity would take control over you, and then that gives me opportunities to act essentially in that situation. 10 to 14, the entity gains an influence over you, and I get to act, but it's not as big of a deal. And then, kind of 15 or above, you resist a possession. So that, the idea of the severity or the sort of the storytelling is baked right into the roles. Your question, and then the other one, which was what again?
Schizophrenia.
Schizophrenia.
Because what I wanted was some sort of a association. All right. Did I seriously just pick like 3 disadvantages? I must want to just die in this, because I like the idea of,
I'm sorry,
like we talked about before.
I just saw what was in the chat and I about pissed my pants, so I have to read this because you don't have it open. It says, can we make a homeless guy name the Nacho Man Randy Savage? Or Snackage, I'm sorry. I got that wrong.
Oh my God, that's
Nacho
incredible.
Man Randy Snackage. You're amazing. Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
That is beautiful. Can we?
I don't know, man. Maybe you're a former wrestler. Let's get there. That'd be pretty good. So schizophrenia, basically you struggle with recurring psychotic episodes, and the trigger there is whenever you go through any difficult experience.
That sounds like a bad idea.
Well, you say, anytime you go through a difficult experience, which is really up to my discretion. So it depends on what the day at work was like, right? 9 or below, schizophrenia takes over you. 10 to 14, the GM just gets to act there. Or 15 or over, you kind of main control your sanity. It's up to you. What I would say is that if you really dig the supernatural tie, I can definitely work with that. And maybe it's preceded by fleeting episodes. Maybe we can play with the roles there a little bit, right? So it's like it's coming. You start to feel that way and start to experience those situations when something awful is near. And whether or not, and maybe one of the reasons you can't tell the difference is it doesn't always present itself based on the rules for an involuntary medium, right? So you may roll and there's no effect, but you feel that psychotic, that rush of delusional headspace. What do you think?
I think I kind of like that. Can you tell me what the options were one more time? Because my audio went out when I tried to load the damn Twitch chat.
All the choices for your broken person, you mean?
No, as in what you just said. The last option that you just said. I caught the tail end of it. I liked.
Since you wanted to do the 2, since you wanted to toy with the supernatural aspect of it, maybe there's a bit of a watered down version of the other one, such that the trigger for these sort of psychotic episodes is a supernatural presence, and the sort of duality there is maybe you lose your shit completely and are experiencing delusions and are unable to respond to it. Maybe you resist that only to have some horrifying supernatural experience, or maybe you resist it all and you just feel really uneasy and troubled for some reason. That seems like it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I kind of like that idea, because the idea that I was toying with initially, well, without having looked up what these classifications were, was I like the idea of, though it sounds incredibly difficult to roleplay, a drug addict who doses solely to shut the voices up, some of which are legit.
Sure. Okay.
You know what I mean? So like tormented by voices, but I can't differentiate between my brain making shit up or things that I'm actually sensing in the environment.
I like
so
that.
There's an addiction process, and that's what drives me to the street.
I like
you know,
that.
some sort of a I can't function, I don't want to function, I can't be around you people, you know, that sort of thing.
I'm gonna call that involuntary medium plus plus. We'll increment it. We'll
It's a
remember
small medium at large. That's good. Yeah.
So here we are. Nacho Man Randy Snackage has some serious ghost radar going on with some schizophrenia as well. That sounds fun. If you start actually losing your shit and foaming at the mouth, I reserve the right to tell you you're getting too far into character.
You know my real mom.
Okay, so let's talk advantages. So we know what's wrong, but what are some of the advantages that you might be interested in? So you know, some of the examples for the broken archetype are street contacts. So you're well connected down there under the overpass. You're intuitive. You're a daredevil. You've got contagious insanity, which seems like an interesting advantage. You make everyone around you crazy, so you don't feel as crazy. I don't know. I have to read that one. Magical intuition, like sixth sense, or wayfinder. So those are some examples. Did you get an opportunity to try some of those on for size?
I ran over some of the soul options, because I was trying to lean towards that, you know, occult adept thing. Like, seeing as it seems like I choose 3 of these,
yes,
I would think it might be in my interest to get something outside of the soul category as well. So possibly roll street contacts with how is contagious insanity under advantages?
Why don't we check it out while I'm reloading the roll 20, because I broke the roll 20. I'm bad at roll 20 today. It's better. Sorry. What was it? Contagious something or other insanity.
Contagious insanity?
What would you think it is while we're looking it up? It's actually they're categorized first by
I would think that I would need to roll and it would affect other people's I would imagine if I were to go hysterical during a bad situation, that it would cause someone else to be unable to function.
Yeah.
You know, sort of the whole, like, no one fights a crazy dude. Like, if someone takes their shirt off and cuts themselves prior to boxing in a bar fight, no one's going to want to fight that dude. I don't care the size or anything. I'll be like, he's nuts. I'm not going out there.
So check this out. So with certain advantages, certain moves that you do as well, you get to choose actions based on how you roll, right? So if you had contagious insanity, you were to roll, say, and I called for a roll, let's say you roll a 10 to 14, you can choose one option from the below. If you roll 15 or above, you can choose 2. So examples would be you afflict your victim with a temporary psychosis in which they are haunted by their fears. Trigger a disadvantage within another person, but you can only do that with fellow player characters, which would be kind of a dick move, but you could do it. Affect one additional victim, or call for creatures of madness to haunt the infected. Also a dick move, but totally possible if you want. I mean, you know, give the rest some due consideration, right? So,
let's keep scrolling. But, you know, like, so far, I like the idea of just being a plague and Mike being stuck with me.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so the others are street contacts, intuitive, daredevil, enhanced awareness, magical intuition, sixth sense, or wayfinder. If you guys have any ideas in the chat, or if you would like to help affect the story,
I'm gonna
Steve loves it when you guys give suggestions. I mean, Nacho Man loves it.
Oh yeah. 3 minutes of pay.
He did make me want to eat Slim Jim. I mean, if I'm being honest, he did. And I still love them to this day.
All right, so one of those was magical intuition, which is I can perceive Kirlian auras and sense the presence of magic. That seems pretty useful depending on how you roll this story out. The other one was streetwise. I have contacts. Sixth sense, I can sense danger in the right path in front of you. That sounds super useful. I like that idea with the whole homeless survivor bit.
What's that?
I like the idea of using the street contacts. I like that one.
Yep.
But I'm assuming I would need to roll off a charisma, which means I'd have to be some sort of a.
Well, you have the ability to assign modifiers and kind of sort out how good you are and how kind of smooth you are. That comes a bit later. It's kind of a little bit backwards, actually. Normally you do, in most role-playing games, you do attributes first.
Yeah.
But still, I kind of, just kind of following with the flow of the data on the sheet. I like it. I think it focuses a little more on story. So you said you're going to do street contacts as one of your advantages?
Yeah, I think the street contacts thing would help. Because otherwise I don't want to be a completely useless character. I don't want to be like, he can detect auras. Be like, well, thanks, man. We're under the bridge.
But what I love about this game, though, it's crazy. So in a lot of role-playing games, your character is purely defined by skills. So, players typically will then, before they decide to try to climb the side of a building, to get to the roof for some urgent purpose, let's say, before they would even attempt that, the first thing their mind goes to is whether or not their character is good at climbing. And I think this game does away with a lot of that thinking and focuses really on, I mean, Steve, could you climb a building if you had to, right? So sure you could. You might not do it Olympically, but you're going to get there, or you might fall. And that's, that's something that's really important here. Anyway, lecture aside. So you said street contacts, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I did.
Let's take a look at what that's all about.
I'm trying to find it.
It's under charisma, so it's going to be toward the front, right? Because they're categorized by the attribute. So it is on page 104. So you've got contacts among the homeless, the crazies, and other societal outsiders and outcasts. Go figure. Whenever you need
that sounds pretty useful.
Yeah. Whenever you need to know something and check in with your contact, you get a roll. And so let's say you exercise that. You ask, so there's some scenario going on under the overpass, and you mention, you want to go check on my contact and see if I can find out who that guy is. You can make a roll. And so again, back to the sort of story-driven skill usage. If you were to roll over a 15, you could ask up to 3 questions. And how you ask those questions is up to you, but the themes are constrained. So examples like, what do you know about the blank? What rumors are circulating on the street at the moment? Or how can I get into blank? Things like that. And then, if you roll a 9 or below, you get to ask 1 question, but someone becomes suspicious or aggressive. Which is really cool. Again, like you might get the information you're looking for, but then the guy might round the corner and sell you out, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So
I like that.
Yeah. So that works. That works really well. What's going to be wonderful is you're batshit crazy, so you go harass these people. They'll tell you what you want to know, so you'll go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's the next
here's
one?
your quarter. Go back to your underpass. I get it.
What's the next one, man? What do you think? So. Intuitive, daredevil, contagious insanity, enhanced awareness, magical intuition, sixth sense, or wayfinder. That sounds like a sweet band from the 80s, doesn't it? Like when the death metal movement was starting.
You know, I played bass for Contagious Insanity.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I probably listened to Contagious Insanity.
I'm trying to get down to the section that's under soul, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so Contagious Insanity. When I allow my madness to infect someone you're speaking. Oh Jesus! This sounds like a dick move, man. I don't think I'm going to do that.
No.
Oh man. Enhanced awareness.
To deal with enhanced awareness.
Okay, I don't understand what they're explaining here, because they say when you focus your senses at a location where the illusion is weak, roll plus soul.
Yeah, so the soul, if you...
How would I know what the illusion is? What are they referring to?
So there are certain parts of the illusion in Kult is essentially the reality that we live in. Think of it as like Hellraiser, because I don't want to use Matrix, but think of Hellraiser. On the other side of that membrane of reality, there was this awful, visceral, gory, chatter-tooth, awful place. Yeah. So it's not unlike that. It's like Clive Barker's, playground. So there are times when something supernatural is going on, or when a situation isn't quite right, that you might be inclined to sense that something wasn't right, and maybe pick up on the fact that what you're looking at isn't fully real. So there are a variety of things that can go on there, but you can basically what it's saying here is when you focus your senses. So if you're, let's say, in a, to be trivial, you're in a haunted house or something, you roll plus soul. So on a success, you have visions about the place, and you might be able to even tell what entities or supernatural beings are tied to that place. Now, so on a 9 or below, for example, the entire illusion tears, and so your reality is just torn asunder, and you can see these. Think of when Constantine went to hell, right? And the hounds are loping across and biting at him and whatnot. It's a pretty bad situation. 15 or plus, you actually gain some insight into the place, but you hold your shit together as well. So that's what that's all about.
Okay.
No pressure.
No, none at all. I think I would like
Contagious Insanity. I can hear their single in my head, man.
I think I'm gonna go with I like the idea of Wayfinder and Sixth Sense.
Okay.
I just scrolled ahead a bit, because that one seems like it would be something that someone who would know how to use portals and things like that would understand better, where I think it'd be better to almost have the understanding of the lay of the city and where to move and to predict things against me. If I don't think that if I voluntarily chose this life, I would be some sort of a brute character like the character that Mike rolled, some sort of a powerhouse of a person. I would imagine I would be, roguish and hide in the shadows and just, So
what I like about Sixth Sense too is it does something a little different. So if you have this at the beginning of every game, you roll to see how that's going to play out, and so it effectively allows you to choose how you use. So for example, you roll. Let's say you roll a 10 to 14. You're able to choose up to 2 options below, and you can hold those and use them whenever. So some examples are act first.
Wow.
Yeah, act first in a threatening situation. You can sense whether someone wishes good or ill, or discover or sense a clue or lead when your group is off track. So what's really awesome about that is it's something that you can just pull out to change the story course as you go. So I love that.
I like that idea.
What was the other one?
Wayfinder. Wayfinder seems like a means of contributing in a decent way towards I'm lost in the city or whatever's coming.
So. Yeah, I go that way. Nice. Okay. So are those your final answers?
Yes. Yes, they are.
Awesome. So you have disadvantages of broken, which you get for free.
Yay.
Yeah. Unwilling, medium. I think is what that was. Plus plus. And then as advantages, you are well connected with the street. You have a sixth sense, and you're a wayfinder. So you're like that. I think of these 80s horror movies, right, where they're going to like Camp Blood or something, and there's the guy on the corner that's just babbling to himself, but it's like, don't go that way. Don't go that way.
Oh no.
No, you don't have to talk to
This is
him.
gonna be awesome.
It's like the guy from Doogie Howser.
You know, I'm like half the characters in The Wire. That's good. Pretty good.
Okay, so next up, we're going to assign some attributes. So this is kind of like the, strength, dexterity, yada yada sort of thing in D&D.
Okay.
But the way this goes basically is you have two types of attributes. Three are passive, so things that are just that way about you. So your fortitude, your willpower, and your reflexes. So you will assign +2 being very good, +1 being pretty good, and 0 meaning kind of between these three. So +2, +1, and +0 between fortitude, willpower, and reflexes. This is amazing. So the chat is trying to turn you into an actual, not a pro wrestler, a group of pro wrestlers in your head.
Oh yeah, that's how I'd see it. Good.
That'd be fantastic.
I just tag people in and out.
So that would be really good. It would be disruptive to the horror, and it would kind of turn it into like a bit of a comedy game, but we could go there. Fortitude, reflexes.
Show. You're going nowhere. I see fortitude, willpower, and reflexes. I wouldn't think that my character would have the willpower based on the broken attribute.
Okay.
Based on the trauma that they've been through. Now, that could be I could be wrong in that, because depending on how my character got to this point, he may have tremendous willpower to be able to have survived the traumas and the decision to go on and live.
Yeah, I would agree with that last statement, right? Like, I think he chose to live this life. He holds in, and the other thing is there's a it's almost like a sanity roll, the concept of keep it together. When you see something completely outlandish and crazy, you make a keep it together roll. So
okay, so that's what. Oh, actually, I like that idea a lot. Then I think I'm gonna go with willpower.
Okay, so
because
+2.
Fortitude, no, I don't think I'm gonna have a tank. Reflexes, no, because I'm not. I wanted to go for something shifty, not a fast. Like, oh man, it's a ninja. I wanted someone who would just be a survivor and not be surprised. Would almost be disappointed if other people reacted negatively to these things that I've already seen.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll do +2 for willpower. So that leaves you a +1 and a +0. So 0 being more or less neutral. And so remembering that I might tell you like, roll plus willpower. And so roll plus fortitude would give you if you put.
I would say +1 to reflexes and a +0 to fortitude.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because I can't imagine that my character would. If I took the non-beaten path to avoid being around the standard city dweller and the aggravations involved therein, then I'm pain avoidant.
Yeah, not to mention living on the streets, right? You probably don't sleep very deeply, and you're probably always on edge, just waiting for someone to jump out of the shadows or some shit. Coupled with your schizophrenia, you're like,
boo! Oh Jesus!
You should make him an ephedrine addict or something like that. So he's like,
I like it.
Super tweaky. All right.
Yeah. Okay, he likes slim fast. That's what he likes.
I'm a slim fast addict. That's amazing. So, okay. So your next are basically active attributes. So they're effectively sort of the things that you use, or they're not just fully passive. They involve you asserting, your will in some way or another. So those are reason, trying to figure things out, intuition, sort of sensing things and having just kind of a gut feeling. Perception seems fairly, so the typical use of that would be observe a situation. You would add your perception in. Coolness, violence, That's pretty obvious. And what I love is they just kind of squish all combat basically into engaging combat. So if you say you have a knife, great. You want to stab someone and you have a high violence score, fantastic. You're great at violence. So you don't develop sword, pistol, rifle, grenade, and so on as different skills like you might in some games.
Right.
Anyway, so you have basically a +3, a +2, 2 +1s, a 0, a -1, and a -2. Basically from +3 down to -2.
Oh, wow.
2 +1s to throw out there.
Oh, okay. I think I would give a +3 to soul. To give me that ability to, go along with the sixth sense and the wayfinding bit. Someone who's more guided by the heart and their intuition than by reason.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that what's nice there is that affects the see through the illusion check. So in a situation where there's an opportunity, there's a fracture or a thinning of the illusion, you would be the person to see it. Everybody else might be the person. You might think you're crazy and so not listen to you when you're talking about the giant archon standing behind them with a spear.
Obviously, it's right the fuck there, people.
Yeah,
it's huge. Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Now you have a +2, 2 +1s, a 0, and a -1, -2.
I would think that I could take a +2 on intuition.
Okay.
Seeing as I'm very connected and I have a disposition towards reading people.
You're sort of making the crazy Dalai Lama.
Yeah, maybe I'm going in the wrong direction with
I
this.
like it. No, that's just my insight there. I think it's.
Yeah, but I don't want to be me.
Yeah, but you're not actually crazy. You just play crazy on TV.
Yeah, it's a little box.
Exactly. Click the bell. I'm gonna clip that out and reuse that.
Yeah,
you'll get royalties. It'll be fine. So what do you think? You've got.
God, I hope so. I have 2 +1s.
Yep.
And then screw everything else apparently. I like. I like a +1 in charisma.
Okay.
Actually, hold on. Because, well, no, I do have a charisma-based stat or a charisma-based trait, right? My networking.
3 contacts, yeah, that could help you with that for sure.
Yeah.
And it also the concept of influence other. So if you were attempting to intimidate or charm or any of those kind of things that are typically different skills, you would role play and then kind of make an influence other role. So that's how that would help you.
Okay, would something like a begging be associated with charisma, do you think?
Absolutely.
Like something where I'm like pleading for help or like pleading understand me and be able to break through that. Do you think that would be charisma?
I picture like the 1980s cocaine dealer with he's wearing a blazer with no shirt and he's got an Uzi down your throat and you sort of talk him out of that trigger pull, or the on the street corner trying to get alms to be able to eat a meal. That would all fall under influence other for sure.
Yeah, I would happily take a charisma point there then.
Done. You now have a 0. Wait a minute. One more +1.
Oh, I thought
I was robbing you of a +1.
I was like, oh no, I'm extra screwed.
Yeah. No, do click the bells, please do. Says the chat.
So I currently have a +3 for soul, a +2 for intuition, was it?
Mm-hmm.
And a +1 for charisma.
Yes. Now you have perception, coolness, and violence.
I think +1 for perception.
Okay. Nice. He's that
because
guy
I
that
would imagine
sees everything, right? Like, I just, as you put this story together, right, you've got him, he's down there, and he doesn't miss anything, even if it's not even real, right? Like, he sees and is connected somehow to everything. So maybe part of his contacts, the breadth of his network, is because he's kind of the center of it in some way.
Oh no, I'm Varys. Oh God.
So you got a plus 0, or just a 0. They say plus 0, a -1, and a and
math
a -2.
I'll put a 0 onto let's say coolness.
I think your dog agrees.
I have been startled.
So reason and violence are your last two. So you have a -1 and a -2 that you need to distribute there. So the affected actions would be investigate or engage in combat on the violence side and reason side.
Okay, let's say a -1 to reason and a -2 to violence. I don't think my character is a brawler at all.
Nope. I mean, he's going to talk his way out of it, right? And if worse comes to worse, he's going to try to duck and run his way out of it and maybe come back later and shank the guy. But
yeah. Or, do a little sigil or something. Who knows?
Yeah. So now the important thing to remember about Kult is that it's a classless thing. So there's no concept of a tank or a thief or anything like that. So really, pretty much any action that you could see a person taking based on the situation is fine. And then the rules kind of are broad enough that they cover whatever the hell it is that you say you want to do. If you say your character carries a knife for protection, even though you're not great with it, fantastic. If you've got a shotgun that you carry around, fantastic, that kind of thing. So long as you don't mind me having people arrest you if you carry it into City Hall. Unlike D&D,
right?
Unlike D&D, you can't kind of pull that off. Awesome. So, tell me about this guy. So, what's he look like? What sort of stuff does he wear? Obviously, not the best Armani suit, I'm guessing, but
no. I would think that this character has been so committed to this life on the street that he's abandoned the desire to impress the average person. There's no need for the average person's input on his life. He has his network. He has his vices. He doesn't need, the average 9-to-5er's approval or anything. So he doesn't really care about, what he's wearing or
very likely like fragrant, right? Like, so he's thinking about he's wearing just sort of thrift store clothes, or is he full on scavenging in the trash? Is he down and out in Beverly Hills, or is he a little less disheveled? What do you think?
I would say he's not 100%. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's just commit. I would say that he's 100% sifting through the trash, that sort of thing, because he doesn't need it.
Yeah.
So he's quote unquote transcended, because his fear of the things that are greater than that and the things that he witnesses are.
And somehow he feels safe, under this overpass for the time being. So I'm gonna leave you to sort out, what does he carry, what does he have, right? But the thing, there's no equipment list or anything per se, but what I'm going to ask you to think about is how does he live? Maybe he has a picture of his mom that's crinkled up in a corner or something, I don't know. Does he have a sharpened broken piece of glass that he uses to defend himself or whatever? So kind of think that through, because that will be important as we get into the encounters. So what's he look like? What do you think, as far as his face? Is he just not shaven and sort of caveman, or is he Nick Nolte on a bad day?
I would probably guess that he's definitely not clean shaven. His hair is probably matted and dreaded based on neglect. Likely just extremely disheveled, like not well, I guess he would just be filthy.
Yeah.
You know, probably doesn't really care about that sort of thing anymore. I would say that he's probably average build, but very thin and frail. You know.
Mm-hmm. Undernourished, right? Like maybe he's not
Yes.
starving to death. He makes it work from the trash, but he eats as little as sort of as he can get away with, right? Because
Yeah, well, he can't eat because his addictions and everything prevent him from being able to eat. You know, it turns his stomach. His stomach's in knots anyway.
what's he addicted to, by the way? What's what kind of shit's he on? Not cocaine, man, because he can't afford it.
No, that's just expensive.
Yeah.
I would say some sort of I'm not sure if the 80s had any sort of a methamphetamine, but I would imagine some sort of a analog there.
Yeah, there was definitely heroin, as we know from sort of Sex Pistols. So yeah, some sort of opiate, some kind of horrific 80s drug addiction. I think in the late 80s, and not I obviously wasn't alive then, right? But I seem to remember crack actually came along in the late 80s, maybe. So he's on some horrific drugs. Got it.
Honestly, at this point, it's anything that'll give him a high. I don't think he really got into heroin because that involves shooting up, and maybe part of his past is people in his circles die. Yeah, and that sort of thing. And he's terrified of that.
He's got this big pile of whipped cream cans next to his cardboard. He is a straight up Ready Whip addict, I think.
Yeah.
But I got your point, right? So
he's just over there huffing Freon.
Yeah. So he that makes sense. Okay, and that would actually give you a good reason to be tied to our clergy member as we talk through bonds later, because he obviously would be down here trying to help. Tell me something about this guy's eyes. So are they deranged? Are they wild? Are they suspicious? Like what's his vibe?
All right, so far we've established this. I actually want this to almost be a sad thing. I want it to be something to where he's not angry to be on the streets. He's resigned to it.
Oh, like it's his fate. He didn't choose it, but he knew he needed it. Yeah.
Yes. Well, okay. He chose it, but it was in response to the horrors that he witnessed.
So it was like the only choice, right? Like he resents it. He gets it, but he okay.
And there's no going back because there's no unseeing the void, as it were.
Yeah.
There's no putting the genie back in the bottle, if you will. Yeah.
According to Britney Spears, man, she could do what she wants.
Gotta rub me the white way, baby.
So tell me about his body. So I say that because I was just glancing at some of the examples, right? It's like jerky, crouching, feral, skinny, large, tattooed. What's his? We talked about he's kind of thinner and sort of average build. Anything really noteworthy? Is he jerky or crouching or feral?
Does he run? Though I like the idea of creating some sort of a feral character, I didn't roll any sort of parkour or anything, so I'm gonna go with more of a. He's just malnourished, man. He's not tall, but he's still gangly because of how thin he is.
Yeah, wiry and kind of gristly.
Yeah, gaunt.
Yeah. Okay. What's it guy's
gaunt,
name?
skeletal, that sort of thing.
What is this dude's name? We have discussed what his stage name is. Apparently it is, for those who missed it, Nacho Man Randy Snackage.
Oh, well then clearly
hopefully
this is,
no one ever says that during an actual very serious, somber, scary session. What's his actual name?
Yeah, this is Randall.
The homage. Randall. 2 L's or one?
Yeah.
Oops. 1 L or 2?
2 L's. Why not?
Yeah, you get them. They're free.
Yeah, that's his full name.
Just Randall.
Randall Michelson.
Like that.
Something, appropriately
Son
White Midwest.
So he was the son of Michael. Oh, is he gonna? Oh, hey there, hi there. It's gonna be from Michigan. I was actually thinking Chicago is probably the city we're gonna be in, believe it or not.
Oh, really? Okay.
Cool. So let's recap just for kicks. So we have Randall Michelson. He's a broken archetype. He is homeless. You said fortitude of 0, willpower of 2, reflexes of 1, reason -1, intuition of 2, perception of 1, coolness of 0, violence -2. He's pretty much a pacifist. Charisma of 1 and soul of 3.
Right.
Then you had disadvantages. You get broken because you are broken. Did we look at that just to see what?
No. I still don't know what that means. I'm kind of concerned because you keep repeating it. So I'm pretty sure that at the very beginning I chose something that really screwed myself.
Yeah, you can choose. It says you can choose 1 limb per session, and it will randomly break. I'm kidding. That would be the deal. That would be
the Jackson and Glass. That's awesome.
Yeah, that would be the Warhammer campaign, I think. Some experience in your past has broken your psyche so badly that you've been unable to recuperate from it, and as a result, your stability can never increase beyond distressed. And stability is sort of like your sanity, your composure, and it affects various things. So. The less stable you become, it's almost like getting crazy or gaining less control. Yeah, so that's a shame for you, but you chose it. So
I did. Let's do this.
Yeah. Okay. So you get broken, which means your stability will never be quite, the same as the rest. An unwilling medium plus.
You didn't see the shit I saw.
That's true. I did not. But we have to make that up at some point. So advantages you've got.
I said I'm not even sure I did really, but
Well, no, yeah, that's very true. So that's the unwilling medium plus, which we did a mashup of unwilling medium and schizophrenia. And so there will effectively be sort of situations where you may be sensing a supernatural entity, or you very well may simply be batshit crazy and having a psychotic episode, and who knows how that'll work out. So as you go and as you develop your character over time, you can actually get further advantages and hone your character a little further. So we'll talk about that later. So the last step is actually defining sort of relations to other characters, but I think we're going to do that as a group, so we can kind of get the buy-in of everybody. Awesome. So the last the last thing I'd like to do here is just think about, without unveiling a dark secret, right? And I think that's something that we can work through. What is it? What is it that made this character broken? What did you see? What was so troubling or frightening? And go as specific as you dare, and let's see where we can take that one.
I think that what would have happened is that I don't think I ever established the age range for my character.
No, you didn't. How old is Mr. Randall Michelson?
I want to say that it's. Please call me Randy.
Oh, I will. Thanks.
All right, so I'm thinking early 20s, maybe late 20s. Some sort of pivotal age for figuring out who I am in society and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think that what happened was that I was going through, if I remember correctly, because it's really hazy right now, I was going through, was I coming back from, it may have just been the bus. I don't know. I got lost. I was never really good at directions, contrary to what I am now. I took a path that I wasn't used to, and I went through. Sorry, this echo is really.
I'll back up. It's probably me.
There you go. I'm talking to myself. So, I think that I was walking back from something that I had to go to. I took a wrong turn, and I ended up, and I saw something I wasn't supposed to see. I think I saw a ritual. There were a lot of people that I trusted there. And
so were you? Let's back up. So were you in the city where you live now? Were you in? Let's assume.
No. I was in the city. I just moved there with my family. I mean, this happened when I was probably around 15. You know, like I said, pretty pivotal time. You know, kind of dealing with feeling ostracized from my friend group there in a brand new city and whatnot. And I were coming back, and I got lost. I was trying to find my place, and I got somewhere I definitely wasn't supposed to be.
So maybe you lived in a rough part of town, right? Because it's never been easy for you, you know, and maybe you were heading down your usual route. And of course, gangs were a big deal back then. They still are, but they were different then. They were always out on the streets, and they all had switchblade combs. But in all seriousness, you were why this was the 80s for those of you who missed that cue earlier. But you know, you're walking down your usual sidewalk, and there was a gang there, and maybe there was a chase that led you astray, and you ran through God knows where into the darkest possible alleyways that you could find. You wound up at a meatpacking plant.
No, you're right. Now that you mention it, I do remember this. Yeah. I remember running. I was frantic.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, layers of, you know, a neuroses sort of peel off when you mention it. But I remember running. I remember losing sight of my home, the familiar streets and everything, just frantically trying to find this. I wasn't a very athletic teen, so I wasn't very capable. I was breathing hard. I ditched everything. I ditched all my identification, you know, just everything out of my pockets, thinking they wanted my wallet, anything. And maybe they didn't see it. I really don't know, but they kept pursuing. So I ran into the industrial district. Wasn't that far from where I was, because, you know, once again, we were kind of slumming at that point. And I must have run in the meatpacking plant. And I remember rounding a corner that was like slick with viscera and everything, and losing my footing.
Remember that smell, that smell of rotten blood that never quite goes away.
It was metallic, and it was just rough.
It's like soaked into the concrete.
Yeah, I mean, I still have vivid memories when I'm around it to this day. You know, that's why I don't typically eat normal things. I don't like to be around meat.
That's why I eat cat food out of the dumpster now.
Yeah, you know, it's fine. You know, there's nothing metallic and rusty there.
Yeah. But just that stench of that wrong smell of death, right? It's not just blood, it's death.
Yeah, that's valid. I remember seeing faces that I knew in the circle. People that I trusted, people that knew me, people that were from my school.
Maybe the reason you ran to the meatpacking plant is you knew a kid that worked there. Maybe one of your buddies from school, right? His dad ran the place. Yeah, I mean, I had been there before on some sort of a tour thing, and someone had pointed out that their father worked there or something, I believe. What were they doing in the circle, do you think? What was going on there? What did you hear when you ran up on that? You'd hear it before you saw it, right? What did you hear?
I heard a loud humming noise. You know, the air was electric. You know, everything was vibrating, and I figured it was my own heartbeat. It was my own, overstimulation, basically. Just fear, just rampant fear running through my head. And I remember running into the circle.
Humming voices, or was it humming something else?
It was. There was definitely muttering. There were deep guttural tones, that sort of thing. But I'm more saying there was a hum of like machinery. There was, you know, things going on that I thought was was some sort of mechanical thing.
Sure.
But I don't know exactly what I ended up did. I think it was some sort of a ritual. I mean, I know it was based on what I saw, because I don't think anyone else saw it.
There was a circle.
Yeah, there were a bunch of people standing in a big circle. Their hands were black. I mean, it was dark, so I think it was blood, but, you know, everything was blood there, so it's kind of hard to differentiate. But they were in robes. It was a heavy thing. You know, like, I clearly interrupted something horrible. But what they didn't, I don't think they saw what I saw.
What did you see? So what had they done with that mutilated body in the circle? What did they achieve that only you saw? Because the mess that you saw first,
I could tell that what they were looking at was simply death. But what I saw was a sort of this grotesque aberration. I saw something emerging from the entrails. I saw movement. They weren't responding to it. They were acting like
hands.
Like, just like undulations. And I saw it was horrible. I mean, I don't really know what to tell you past that's the point when I didn't trust anything. Solely because the people in the circle, when they turned their faces to me, they were people who I knew and that I loved and that loved me.
So,
and the person in the circle was someone that I knew.
When they turned their faces to you, though, because of what it said to you, when it locked eyes with you, as it crawled out, like an impossible mass crawled out for even the amount of entrails that was there. There's this matter coming forth, and it looks across the warehouse at you.
Well, yeah, the thing that was most horrifying was that it didn't acknowledge anyone in the circle.
Just you.
Yeah, it locked eyes with me. Like it expected me to be there, like it was a part of it knew this was supposed to happen. Like everything had lined up to this point, and I'm not expecting you to believe me because I know it sounds far-fetched, man. I know it does, but I really don't give a shit if you believe me, man. I'm under the fucking bridge.
I have no reason not to believe you, brother. Can you pass that crack pipe? So it locks eyes with you. It says this one word, and though you didn't, the syllables and the sound weren't words, but they were at the same time, and it must have been your gasp or your reaction to that recoil that drew their attention to you. And then you saw, you said someone was in the circle that you loved. Who was it?
It was and you're really digging here. It was my friend from school. It was this girl I had a crush on. It had never gone anywhere, but it was, I don't know. It was puppy love. It probably didn't mean anything, but we would hang out at school, and she seemed to like me and everything, and I liked her. But it was something to where, she represented innocence to me, man. She wasn't like the others. She understood me. And they took her and they transformed her into something else. And I don't know what was said, because as you mentioned, there were no words. It was more of a base understanding, and it was corruption. That was the entirety of it. I saw through the illusion. I saw past
you had to walk the hallways,
programming and everything.
You had to walk the hallways with the illusion for a bit. She was different. Yeah. She was different after that night. You ran and got away. They couldn't see your face, and by then, the gang had gone elsewhere. The thugs. But then trying to return to normal life didn't work, because everywhere you looked, you saw her face, her actual angelic face. Every mirror that you looked in, every passing car. But I could see through it still. It wasn't just, everyone treated her like she was still her. But I could see through it. It was something to where it was no longer this little cherubic redhead. It was different. The eyes were soulless. I could see past it. She still watches you sometimes from that window near the overpass.
Yeah.
Makes it real hard to sleep.
I don't go down to that side of town anymore, man. That's why I'm on this side. This is my bridge. They can have that side. I want this side.
Nice.
And I can do my best to keep them out of this area.
So That's really cool. So awesome. Rivers joined us, by the way, from the Tides of Nurgle campaign. Rivers, welcome. I got chills from that, man. That was good. I can picture that scene in the meatpacking plant, right? That thing coming up out of the guts, literally just like something out of a Clive Barker movie.
Yeah, well, it was like it was being disassembled, but then the next day it was fine because I ran. You know, I didn't know what the hell was going on. I figured, I don't know, man. The brain does weird shit when you're freaking out, right? So
What
I
was
left.
looking at, yeah. It's good. It's going to be coming for you. You know that, and that's one reason why you're under here.
I'll be ready.
Yeah, you're gonna talk your way
ready.
out of that one. You're gonna be like, "Hey, Meatwad, don't attack me." Like, it's totally fine.
Yeah, right.
They roll to influence other. Okay, you talk Meatwad out of it, so he kills all your friends.
Right. Roll for make everyone else around me crazy too. See, I told you.
Oh, dude, that was amazing. Thank you for doing this. So I've got all the information stored in your character sheet, which your Roll20 account has access to.
Okay.
So next up is CJ. I think CJ is going to go early during the week. Nancy will be after that, and we will have all of our characters made. I've got my shit straight on my story, so I think I'm ready to start when you guys are, with minor details missing.
Okay.
Particularly though, this is some good shit. It's pretty eerie.
Yeah, this should be fun. Between Mike's thing where he witnessed everyone be butchered and saw some demonic dude run backwards into a street and get run over. Now we have like batshit crazy hallucinating kid who really sees shit. I say we need a priest.
yeah, you might. Exactly right. And yeah, that's going to be the interesting hook there. Cool. So just for those of you who are watching or who will see this recorded, this is MythBrigade. We are playing a brief version of Kult. It's going to be a handful of episodes here on Twitch and there on YouTube. Also, if you check out on Thursday, the 25th of July, King's Year 2019, we are going to be playing some Tides of Nurgle, a different cast of fantastic role players playing some Warhammer Fantasy roleplay 4th edition. So, you know, click the, I'm going to dub my finger in so it's like 20 feet long here. Click, I don't know, click subscribe, click dislike, click something for fuck's sake. Next up, we have the final character generations. We're going to get the group together to do a quick session on bonds, and then we are going to talk about the 80s creeper van. That's the title of our first episode.
All right. Free candy.
Yes, exactly. Cool. So thank you guys for checking out the channel and or the stream. It's been really fun. In the meanwhile, this guy right here is an amazing artist. And you can find him at Steve Nedley Art here on, well, not here on Instagram, there on Instagram. Wait, where's the Instagram? There it is, there on Instagram. And he does commission work. He does just fantastic character stuff. He's doing some work for us on the Tides of Nurgle side. And I'm hoping we can talk him into doing renditions of each character in this campaign.
Oh, that's a good one, yeah.
So check out Steve's stuff. Steve, thank you much, brother. I love you, man. I'm going to end it here, and we'll see you next time.